This is a review of the Garo, the component to VGA and SCART box made by the Behar brothers. So I'm pretty excited to try it. I'm a big fan of their other products, and I have a full test set up here. I'm going to try to put it through its paces, but let me show you exactly what I'm going to do and why I'm going to do it. So I figured I'd start by showing the Garo itself, just so everybody's familiar and knows what to expect with it. I'll start with the inputs. It's got component video and audio inputs. Then it's got a SCART output, which can output RGBS. And this has the audio built right in, so you could connect it directly to any of your SCART switches. On this side is the power input and the VGA output, and that is selectable between RGB and RGB HV. And then here you have the scanline switches. So I'll pop open the top just to see the insides of it. It's held on by 4 screws, but I already took most of them out just to shorten the video a bit. And on the inside you get a much better view of the scanline switches. This turns it on and off, adjusts the width, and the width would make it look more like 240p or 480i scanlines depending on the output resolution. And then even or odd selects which line the scan lines start on. Also, here's a much closer view of the RGB HV to RGB jumpers. And this is what allows you to select the output of the VGA port, which comes in handy because the monitor that I'm using actually only supports RGB HV. Also, the only complaint I'd have, it's not really a complaint, it's just the one negative comment, is the LED on this thing is super, super bright. So if you have it in a case somewhere, that's fine, but I mean, that's pretty bad. And I can see why they did it, because the Garo top is written on the bottom, or the Garo emblem is on the bottom, and you'd need some light behind it in order to see it, but that's just a bit too bright for my taste. But luckily I have all my stuff packed away in shelving, and if I didn't, I would just remove the LED, or maybe even just put some black polish on it or something like that to make it dimmer. But other than that, it's built really well. It's built pretty close to the same as their other devices. So let me give you guys a quick rundown of what we're going to be testing with, and then I'll actually show this thing in action. For our test rig today, I'm going to be using an NEC AccuSync LCD71V, and that's because this monitor supports pretty much any resolution you'd throw at it as long as you're running RGB HV, so the syncs are separated. I have an Xbox to demonstrate 720p output as well as whatever it boots in, and then also a PlayStation 2 and a Wii, so we could really get all the resolutions covered and have 3 completely different types of signals going to it. So let's get started. So I'm going to start by showing the PlayStation 2 because I'm able to use Fantasy Zone and its different resolution modes to show the 3 main resolutions that you'd be getting out of a PlayStation 2, and actually out of many of the 6th generation component video consoles. So I'm going to start out showing 480p and got the Garo hooked up directly. As you can see, it looks great. Oh, that's the monitor, that's not the Garo. Everything looks perfect, handles it well. So now I'm going to go into the settings and switch it to 480i. And as you can see, the Garo handled that seamlessly. You didn't have to reset it or anything, it just worked. And now we're right in 480i mode. And of course, interlaced mode looks pretty bad because it's interlaced, but definitely you'll be stuck with it for at least a few games. So that's good that it supports it. And finally, $240p. Also looks great through the Garo, and just 0 issues transitioning between the resolutions, which is really great because for a lot of the PlayStation games that go between 480i and or they're primarily used in 480i would be an issue. So it handles it great. So let's switch over to the Xbox to see other resolutions. So I'm just going to unplug the PlayStation. Plug in the Xbox. And it's interesting because the Xbox actually boots in 480p, or actually 480i. And then the menu that I have loaded, that switched to 480p, and now it's 720p for the actual Unleash X menu. So as you can see, it works great, and once again, no issue with the Garo handling it whatsoever. Let's see if I can get a game up here. I believe the Atari Anthology actually runs in 720p, so I'll try that one. And obviously the resolution, or the aspect ratio, would be a little off on this monitor, but that would be the monitor, not anything else. So yeah, it says 960 by 720. So yeah, this is actually running in 720p. Looks great, nice and sharp. Monitor seems to handle it well. So now I'm going to switch over to the Wii. And I saved the Wii for last because I had a bunch of issues with the Wii and using it with other component to VGA converters in the past. And I'm interested to see how the Garo is going to handle it because I heard that some people were getting certain screen issues. Okay, it loads right up. Looks like we're in 480i, and it actually looks great to me. I don't see any purple tint as certain people described, but there certainly were some issues reported, and I have seen it before with a Nintendo Wii, and I'm not really sure why. I really don't understand why it happened, but I had a key digital component to VGA converter, and it would happen randomly. It really didn't make any sense on why things like that would happen, but I guess let me try getting a Wii game in and playing that for a little bit and seeing if there's any purple tint when there's actual gameplay, because there's certainly none right now on the screen. So I've been playing a cave story for a while, and I tried it in both 480i and 480p 4x3 so it fits the screen, and I'm not getting any tint at all, which is really strange to me because other people had posted pictures online, and I myself did have issues with this exact Wii with these cables, and so I'm not really sure where the problem comes from. I'm going to have to ask some of my engineer friends if they could, if they have an explanation as to why. But as you can see, there's a ton of colors on the screen, and none of them have an odd hue to them. They're all just kind of normal looking. So I would assume that if anybody buys the Garo and has an issue with the Wii, it has nothing to do with the Garo, it just has to do with the Wii signal. And there were some people that actually used it and said the purple tint only happened during the menu, but I kind of remember it happening all the time. So the Wii is the only question mark, but once again, it doesn't seem to have anything to do with the Garo itself, it's only the actual Wii signal. So here's an example of the PlayStation 2 going into my plasma TV through the VGA input, and it won't accept a 480i signal. And I'm kind of glad I was able to show this because the Garo is really meant for, either SCART switches or going into a VGA monitor. It's definitely not really designed for flat screens because most flat screens VGA input is actually designed for PC signals. So they don't really know how to interpret 480i. But let's see how it works with the Xbox and see if it does any better. Alright, I just powered on the Xbox, and let's see what happens, because I believe the Xbox boots in 480i, then 480p, then 720p. Alright, so it hit the 480p side, and now my TV doesn't really know how to interpret the 720p through VGA. So, not unexpected, and it's not a disappointment to me at all because I think your average flat screen would have a component input before a VGA input anyway. So this really works exactly as expected. I just kind of wanted to see how it reacted to flat screen TVs. And just one final little bonus. Here's the Garo plugged into a G-SCART switch going out to a monitor. Now you'll notice I swapped monitors out. That LCD monitor I was using, although it's compatible with many different resolutions, it's very weird about sync. So I think there was an issue going between the Garo sync and then the sync stripper that was in the G-SCART switch. So I'm not really sure what was up with that, but I think that was really just something that you would deal with in that one monitor. But definitely let me know in the comments if you have issues, but I really think it was just specific to that one monitor. But this is a pretty cool setup. So if you have a Wii that you want to pump through your SCART switch and into either your FrameMeister or your display, you can go right from the Garo directly into it. Make sure to use a decent SCART cable that supports full RGB capabilities. It's rare anymore, but occasionally you would see SCART cables that only have the composite video pin. But overall, I really like it. It's this is now my go-to component to VGA converter, and I really won't be using any of the other boxes I had anymore because this has every option I could imagine. So great job on the Garo, and as always, feedback and comments are appreciated, and I'll see you guys next time.